The committee meeting for the administration committee is ready to meet to on our first part of our agenda is waste collection. And I want to turn it over to Missy Andrus, who's going to make a solid waste collection for some presentation to us, please.
I'm all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sherry just recently put together a bid packet for us. We had spoken a while back in the fall, or council had noted that you might be interested in going out to bid. So I know it seems a little early when the contract isn't until up until July, but it does take time to advertise and get all that in place.
Absolutely.
So I just want to kind of run down things for you all. Okay. First of all, why we go out to bid for residential service. KRS 109011 says the U.S. Congress enacted Public Law 94-580 that states that the collection and disposal of solid waste is a nationwide importance. Management of solid waste collection would be by state, regional, and local authorities. And then there's another KRS that the General Assembly states that the primary responsibility of waste collection management rests with the counties and the waste management districts. And of course, then the county can pass it down to the city. And it ultimately lies in our hands. So that's the reason why the city goes out and goes to bid for waste collection versus individual residents, you know, purchasing their own waste collection and stuff. It also saves on the city streets because you don't have several different companies coming down the road, you know, day after day, picking up different residents' waste collection. So, let me. Okay. Let me go here. Our current franchise agreement with Republic Services, or CSI, began on July 1 of 2009. The agreement includes 4 term extension options on it, each option being a 2-year period. The current and second extension will expire on June 30th of this year. This current agreement is for an exclusive franchise for all residential units up to 4 family unit buildings. Under the current contract, our residents receive once-a-week trash pickup with a cost of $9.54 per month and the option of once-a-week recycling pickup for $4.42 a month. If the city renews the current contract that we have, the cost will be $10.59 per month for once-a-week trash pickup and $4.90 for the optional once-a-week recycling. We have different bid options that we can do, and this is all included in the bid packet. I believe Sherry sent you all a copy of that. You have your basic collection once-a-week curbside pickup service. And then there's 4 different alternates, whether it's once-a-week curb trash pickup with once-a-week recycling included in that, or once-a-week curbside trash pickup with once-a-week voluntary recycling, twice-a-week curbside trash pickup, twice-a-week curbside pickup with once-a-week pickup for the recycling that was included. Those are the 4 different options that, you know, council could choose. Let me go over here. Some other considerations that we have in this bid packet was a fuel service charge. There's only one other city, Florence has a fuel surcharge in their bid or their agreement with their waste collection company, but most all the other cities do not have a fuel surcharge. If you remember when we went out to bid back in 2009 with CSI, the other waste collection companies were wanting to add that surcharge to it, and CSI did not. So that's an option that actually is included in the bid packet. And if they put this in the bid packet, or if they do that, it's council's option as to whether you want to agree to that fuel surcharge or not. It's an optional thing. Additional holiday. Every year CSI calls us and wants us to, if we would allow their employees to take Thanksgiving Day off. And who doesn't want Thanksgiving Day off? So we decided to put that in the bid packet this year, to add that to it. Currently, they get Christmas Day and New Year's Day off. The big difference to us as a city would be that trash collection would be delayed one day. So we've added that to it. We also added in there asking the companies to bid on a biannual waste event, which is twice a year, where we can, have residents bring or put out large items or special items or whatever in that. We've also put in and I think that was sent out in the packet also, there's recycling dumpsters. And there was an example of one that was sent out with your packet. If we've asked for that also. In that, hopefully to put one at Firehouse Station 1 and one at Station 3. The examples that we sent out actually they were enclosed. They weren't just like big dumpsters. They were enclosed with like doors on them where you could put the paper or the glass, or, had separate compartments to it. I think that's all I have as far as on the presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, I've got a couple questions, Missy.
Okay.
Presently, we use alternative number 2, I believe, as far as our in the bid package. You showed alternative 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I think right now, presently, we're doing the number 2 part, the alternative number 2, right?
That's the 1 day a week pickup for trash and optional 1 day a week pickup for recycling.
Okay. So I'm almost, from my standpoint, I think it's working out well this way. And is it working out fine the way it is right at the moment?
I think so.
And but I'm going to open it up to any members of council want to bring up ask questions or to that regards.
I think we might have had an issue at the beginning when we first started, taking 2 away from people, but everybody came back and it's worked out fine. I mean, we haven't had any complaints or anything about trash not being picked up anymore, so.
2 questions.
Go ahead, sorry.
2 questions I had were around the biannual waste cleanup and then the recycling dumpsters. Are those things that we hear a lot of requests for? I know that the Kenton County offers those services on, once a month, where you can take, pretty much anything you want.
We used to get a lot of requests.
We used to do it all.
Yeah.
Put dumpsters out every summer or whatever.
Yeah.
Remember we used to do that?
Yeah.
Come up here and let them come dump their stuff in it.
Yeah.
It worked out great.
Yeah, we do. We get people wanting to know when we're going to do that cleanup. So. Any other questions? Yes.
Every year when we price this out or we get ready to do the bid, I have a business owner that asks me when we're going to do an all-inclusive and include the businesses and see if we can get a cheaper rate. I don't see what the problem is of getting that quote. I mean, it's an option. If we don't like it, we don't have to take it.
Go in with
But
us. They always
I
had their
think-
option.
I think it would be doing the businesses. It would give them either an eye-opening experience that, oh my gosh, what I'm paying now is worth it, or it would give us an eye-opening experience.
Well, probably more so than us, because the businesses aren't even going to know, what they're bidding at first. That's up to council.
We've always had the businesses pick their own waste collection, though.
Yes. Yeah, the only city I know that, well, maybe Covington, but Florence does that. Florence has theirs included in that.
Well, there's such a big industrial area,
Yes.
and they got all the business out there. It makes more sense for them because then it's cut back on the residents. But
Yes.
I don't think that's going to help us out here in Erlanger. I don't think we have enough businesses that's going to offset anything and give our residents any cut back. Do you?
No, I don't know that yet until until they would bring the figures in. My thought would be that the businesses probably would feel like they're being taxed again, or not having that freedom or option to choose as they wish, and.
Yeah.
I still think it should be included. When I was in high school many, many years ago, and we did true, false, anything that started out with always or never was not the right answer.
I've had some bad experience with cities that require you to, like for a construction dumpster, if you call it out to a job site, and they require you to get it from a certain company. A lot of times their price on the dumpster is 2 to 3 times what you'd pay, on the open market.
I think that's why we.
And you really don't have any choice. And
Get it cheaper, we can.
a lot of times they'll patrol the areas too, and they'll call the police if you get a dumpster from someone else.
And I understand that, but I don't see what is the harm? What's the harm of quoting it out?
Seriously, and add it as a bid option.
It's an option. You might be surprised. We don't have to take it. It doesn't cost us anything. It costs whoever's bidding it it costs them their time, but. I had another question. Well, do you want to answer that one? Or?
Well, like I said, that's council's, that's up to you all, if you want us to do that.
I don't know how we could begin to quantify that, honestly.
I just think all we're gonna do is make the businesses a little bit mad, because this way they have their choice of who they want to use, and they're gonna get it cheaper than, if we pick one that's higher than what they could pick and get it cheaper, then we're gonna have them on us. I just think we ought to leave it the way it is. That way the businesses get their own garbage pickup, and the residents we handle what we do for the residents.
I still don't see anything wrong with bidding it out. I just don't see anything wrong with it.
What are you thinking then, Renee? Like have them give a price on a 2-yard dumpster, a 5-yard dumpster, a 10-yard dumpster, a 20, a 30?
It doesn't have to be as extensive as what they're doing with this overall resident thing, but just a ballpark figure.
And then how do we evaluate if that makes sense or not?
I think that's the part that I think would be tough. Evaluating, you're gonna go do a survey of all the businesses that are up here. I don't know. I mean, I think it'd be. I like the idea of having it included in a quote, but how do you determine?
Well, at least it would give me something to go back to the person that keeps asking me every year to have it quoted out. I mean, humor me a little bit.
Yeah, the businesses ought to get together.
That's up to council.
I agree.
Thanks, I'll defer to that.
So who wants to ask for a show of hands?
Well, I want to,
You gonna do that, Bill?
what's that?
Ask for a show of hands, it's your committee, right?
I can do that. Can I see a show of hands of who wants to put the bid out to the for the dumpsters for the city, for the businesses?
businesses.
Businesses.
I don't see a reason not to put it out to bid.
2?
3.
3? 3. No.
Okay.
I think we should. Personally think we should just keep it the way as is, and just go with it as we've always had. Let's see.
Okay.
I have another question, though.
Do noted.
On this, there was a list in here of all the bus stops, and maybe I read it wrong, that they had all the bus stops. Were you gonna have the garbage company empty those? Because Public Works already empties them, right?
They do, but in our current contract, it is that the waste collection company should be the one emptying those. How it got changed around to Public Works doing it, I don't know.
I don't know, but I mean, I've seen Public Works go, Public Works does an awesome job. I think, do they put plastic liners in the cans?
Yes.
All the trash receptacles are just a plastic can, and then we go around and collect them and dump them into another can and haul them off to the dumpster at the shop.
Okay, because my concern was that they're all at bus stops. So I don't know if the garbage truck stopping in front of the bus stop to get the garbage. I don't know. We see Public Works out all the time, so they do great.
Yeah, and do you know how that got turned around?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not either.
In the summertime, we're out 3 days a week.
I know we had an issue with one that wasn't even our city. How many times did we have to call them to empty the one down there in front of Kmart? All that stuff was always out in the middle of Dixie Highway. Yeah.
The one in front of Kmart isn't even in Erlanger, is
Yeah,
it?
please.
It's not even in Erlanger.
I know, but what happened is, people would call us, and you'd go by there, and that stuff would be all over Dixie Highway, so it would take us to call Edgewood to come and pick it up, because the bus companies didn't empty them, the trash didn't empty them, so.
Okay, one other item that was brought to my attention that I need some direction from council on is in the bid packet on bond requirements. We've always required the companies to do a $50,000 bid bond, and then the company that we awarded the bid to has to give us a $250,000 performance bond. Now, the bid bond doesn't really cost the company anything through the insurance company, but the performance bond, we checked with our agent, and he said it cost them about $4,000. Do we want to keep that at $250,000 for a performance bond? Do we want to eliminate the performance bond? Do we want to lower it, or, leave it as is?
What does a performance bond do?
In the event that the company fails to perform their duties or their services, then we would collect that money in an effort to, I guess, get another company to do it.
So in the case of the bus stops that that Public Works is doing, is that something that?
Not really. That wouldn't fall
No,
under.
I don't think it would be that. I think it would be just, maybe the company had, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but if the company had something catastrophic happen and they could not pick our trash up, and we had to get somebody else to come in and do that, it's my understanding that's what the performance bond is for, if they fail to perform their normal duties.
Question.
Yes.
Can we lower the cost of the can we make it a $150,000 performance bond over a $250,000 performance bond?
That's up to you all.
Would that lower the cost for them from that $4,000?
Not significantly.
Well, I'm sure it would, yes.
Well, I think
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
that Randy?
I don't think it would lower, and that would lower it very much in terms of the cost of their bond.
either.
I mean, it's only $4,000 for a 250. It might lower it $1,000. I think there's enough cushion and profit built into the contract that they should keep the performance bond at the higher level myself.
Okay. Renee?
Leave it as is. We've had no trouble getting people to do the contract with it.
Well, it was just brought to my attention, and I wanted to get council's input from that.
Yeah.
How much is the whole contract usually worth? How much was the last one worth that they,
Gosh, you're asking me a question I honestly don't know.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to throw you under the bus.
No, that's okay.
I was just wondering what percent that performance bond was.
I don't know. It's just a figure we've always used.
Obviously, it doesn't make them lose money or they wouldn't bid it.
Is that pretty much the typical of cities, about that amount for performance bonds?
It's pretty standard.
Okay. So they're not going to be shocked by it, then it's pretty much what they
No.
expect. I think that's okay.
Like Randy said, it's added in to the cost. They're not gonna lose money on it, you can bet that.
Absolutely.
So does anybody have any other questions?
Yeah. Is there a big difference between 2-day pickup and 1-day pickup in price?
Yeah, it's probably going to be double.
Oh, okay.
And the wear and tear on the streets.
And I think everybody seems satisfied with the one-day pickup now. Now that everybody's got adjusted to it, I think
That was
everybody's
the biggest reason why we got it back to
seems
1
satisfied
day,
with one-day
because
pickup.
wear and tear on the street.
Could you put Sherry, could you put the first screen line up there so we can take a good look at it one more time?
First screen back.
Well, once
One
you got
about-
used to the 1 day,
Yeah,
it
the
really
next,
wasn't a problem.
go back, the cost, yeah.
You want what?
Cost,
Yeah.
Unless the kid-
increasing the
unless
cost
kids
by
are allowed.
$1.05 a month,
the current provider.
okay, with the current
Yeah.
provider. And curbside pickup going
I mean,
up
if you want to bid it for cost purposes, that's fine.
57 cents
For recycling,
for
yes.
recycling.
Yeah.
Does everybody seem satisfied with that cost?
That's not much of an increase.
I know, and
It's still, I'm still up for sending out bids, just
I
to-
think we should.
I have no problem sending out a bid.
yeah, because we can still
Right.
This expires.
yeah.
Yeah, and then we can
go back and
decide.
renew this contract. We just have to give them
Hurts
30
find
days
out there's
notice.
something better.
Well, that's what I mean, if we get the bids back before, and we're not happy with it, we'll sign the 2-year agreement, and move on.
Correct.
I like the idea of getting the bids, see what's out there.
Hey, are you gonna send a bid to them, to their current?
We'll notify them, yeah.
And maybe they'll see if they give us a better deal.
I don't think they'll give us a cheaper deal than what they're giving us now.
Yeah.
I know they did.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many things they've done for me.
Any other questions? Okay, so our timeline is going to be, we'll go back and finalize the bid packet. We'll advertise it in the paper. And we'll have a bid opening. Public hearing afterwards.
All right.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and get on this and then get it out to advertise it.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you, Missy.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bill, I appreciate you getting us started on time. Okay. I'll go ahead and take it from here. The next item on the agenda is the termination authority. I don't know about the rest of you, but I just got a revised ordinance today, and I haven't had a chance to look through the entire thing and to figure out what all the changes are. Probably would have been helpful to know what was different, but it looks like there's a lot more language in here than we were looking at before. Does anybody else have any
Mayor,
comments?
the one you got today is only grammatical changes in it and numbering changes. The substance is no different.
Well, I don't have the other one. I mean, I know even just in the name of the ordinance, it was like 2 lines long before, now it's 6.
That is correct. The only,
There's an additional whereas, there's additional definitions.
that's correct, but those were presented to you before in a version in which the numbering was incorrect, and I changed that, made those changes, so it's still not substantive. But you're correct, I sent it out today. If you want to defer any action on it, that's up to you.
My one question about
It is, actually, yes.
with the creation of a new position, the Erlanger Hearing Officer, I'm assuming that we also need to do an amended classification, personnel and classification of pay.
I'm sorry, you'll have to speak up.
I guess my one question was about the new position of Erlanger Hearing Officer. We would also need an ordinance around the personnel classification and pay. Because we're creating a new
Yes, sir, the personnel policies use the term at will frequently.
No, that piece I'm okay with. If we were creating a new position, the part-time position designated as Erlanger Hearing Officer,
That's correct.
we would also need another ordinance to go along with this to amend the personnel pay and classification.
That's correct.
Okay.
I didn't recall talking about that the last time. I thought we were saying that the hearing officer would be someone that, or the person that presided over the hearing would be a lawyer designated by the city attorney.
But it is.
That's correct, but in discussing that and reviewing it, consulting with other municipal attorneys, came to the conclusion that that probably is just as invalid as authorizing the city council to approve the decision of the mayor. So in order to get the city council out of that analysis, conclusion was the best thing to do is be to put it into an independent, separate person, and that's where the concept of the hearing officer came from.
So if we create this, the Erlanger Hearing Officer is a non-elected officer position, what happens if the mayor never appoints anybody to that position? Do we put a provision in here to, or does there just no hearing officer to execute a hearing that we're stating in the earlier parts of the ordinance?
Well, it's mandatory, so my opinion would be if the hearing officer is not appointed, the mayor can't terminate anybody.
I have a question. On the Erlanger hearing officer, am I correct in surmising that this is what we talked about when you said something about having a hard time finding a lawyer if we were going to have an evidentiary? Is that what this is for? The hearing officer would only serve for that evidentiary, is that right, or not?
Well, he would only get paid for the evidentiary hearing.
Okay, that's what I was after.
Yeah, but the answer to your question is yes, that does address that issue.
Okay.
That was a little bit of a problem the last time this issue became relevant with the amount of pay that's in the ordinance and the variety of attorneys that are available to be consulted. I would think that would not be a problem.
Okay.
I mean, if it's a minor issue, probably get somebody around here that's local. If it's a major issue, like the city administrator, or the treasurer, or somebody like that, people who are well-known in this community, we would probably have to go elsewhere.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Is it fair for us to try to put a price on what they can charge?
Yes, sir. What they charge is a combined decision, what they will do it for and what you pay them for. If you set it at 150, then if they don't want to do it, they don't do it. But your question, is it fair? Yes, sir, I think it is.
I mean, if you can't find someone to do it for that price, then you have to change the ordinance?
Yes, we would have to.
Theoretically, that's correct, but the likelihood of that happening is nil.
Well, not now, but in 20 years, that may not be the going rate.
20 years from now, you'll have to change the ordinance.
The hourly rate charged here is pretty comparable for what hearing officers charge for the state for administrative hearings as well.
Oh, so that is a state position?
No. The state has its own administrative body, like the medical board, the dental board, all these things, and they appoint hearing officers, and they pay something fairly comparable to this to sit as hearing officers.
I mean, why even put it in there?
Well, I think we have to state something, right?
Yeah, you either have to put on
add something to the personnel pay and classification.
Your choice is a fixed amount or a formula by which the amount is determined. If you wanted to say, we'll use the same amount that the administrative law judges are paid, you can do that. But you have to have an amount or a method of determining the amount.
I think that might vary depending on which agency you use, though, if you tried it to the state.
That's my thought.
And I'd imagine we're not really talking about large sums of money here, right? I mean, a hearing's going to be a couple hours. I don't know. I'm asking this.
Depends. I would agree with you in most circumstances and the terminations that I've been involved with in the city. A couple hours of a hearing, a couple of hours of paperwork, you're talking 5-10 hours, between 5 and 10 hours, let's put it that way. So you're talking a maximum probably around $1,500.
So I guess the committee's recommendation would be to endorse the ordinance as is.
I'm fine with that. Yeah.
As is, and move forward from there?
I read it several times.
At our next city council meeting?
Well, we have to also draft the pay and classification as well.
Not in there.
No, it's not here, but we'll need to draft an ordinance to modify the pay classification.
At $150 an hour?
150 is in here.
I don't think we should put a price in there at all, should we?
I think you have.
Is there a way to put?
Kind of have to.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Could we just say it's established? You just establish the price prior to commencing with a contract, or?
150's in
Yeah, the 150's in here, but we also have to
I would think so.
have another
If you
ordinance
pass the ordinance, it's gotta have an amount in it.
to modify the personnel pay and classification.
I think you need an amount or a formula or something.
To me, it seems like we need to do a little bit more homework on that. I mean, the whole position of Erlanger hearing officer is foreign to me.
No, I don't.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think this looks good as it is. I'm fine with it. I'm not really uncomfortable with the 150 an hour. I mean, that's less than a lot of attorneys charge, but usually when they serve in that capacity.
Increased, if anything.
What's that?
My question was, I would be more concerned that it needed to be increased, if anything.
Yeah, it's a little on the, if you're just, it depends. If you're doing an hourly, if you're representing a client for an hour, a lot of times you're gonna build more than 150 an hour. But on the other hand, sometimes when you sit for these type of things, you'll charge less. I mean, I've sat on, for example, panels for arbitrations and things of that nature, and I charge less for that sort of work than I would for, going to court and arguing the case. Because sitting as the judge is frankly much less stressful than trying the case.
How many situations over the past few years have we had where this would really come into place?
We haven't.
Mark?
None. We had none for non-elected.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, just one.
That's what my question was. Can this position not be instead of having to change the positions and the pay scale and all of those things within our policies now, why couldn't this position be a contract position, which aren't included in our pay classifications now, instead of adding this for something you're not going to use very often?
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you make it a contractual thing, position, instead of making it a position? I don't think it says either way in here, but
Well, I think
whatever that is. So.
and I'm just jumping out here, and my guess is that the reason that we wouldn't is because this position would require approval by the council versus the mayor who wants to terminate somebody also appointing the attorney that's going to judge in, in that case.
Did it say that in here, that it's?
It says it's appointed by the mayor and approved by
Contractual
city council.
Okay.
Right.
All right. You could still do the same thing with the contract, could you not?
No.
No? Okay.
Oh, it'd be okay.
So I think this gives a little added protection, or at least a fair hearing.
I'm going to say on an administrative side of this, going forward on this committee meeting, I was going to, tomorrow morning we have a leadership team meeting. I was going to look at this, the whole procedure here and what is there, because whatever procedures here, we're going to have to adopt into our personnel policies and our procedures inside what we do internally. We haven't done that. The leadership team hasn't looked at this to say if in fact we can't abide by this, and the discussions that I've had with the mayor and Mr. Wickman have all been, we want due process somehow for all the employees here. And I think we all deserve that, or at least all the employees deserve that, to have everybody's in agreement with doing that. But how do you do progressive discipline? If you look at this, there's a lot of intangibles inside of here about what we're going to have to do operationally and some of the definitions and how we're going to have to abide by it and what we're going to have to do. So I personally, just from the administrative standpoint, operationally inside, I would like a little more time to look at this with the leadership team, try to get together to make sure that in fact, whatever's written in this ordinance before you adopt it, that we're going to be able to do operationally.
How much time you need?
I think we need at least a month to look at it, to see.
So you want us to put it back on put it back in committee?
If you came back to a committee meeting in March, I would be very comfortable with that. But I know the team sitting out here tonight, we haven't had an opportunity to look at it to make sure operationally that we can do that. When you start talking about warnings, when you talk about progressive, it's going to be incumbent upon us to prove that case. Police and fire have dealt with that over the years. My experience with that has been very good. We know how to, I think, do that, incorporate some of those things from KRS 15 and KRS 95 into our procedures and policies inside. So that's what I would ask. Okay. Instead of making a recommendation to have that first reading, let us look at that.
That's fair. I agree. I have no issue with that at all.
The idea is to try to make something that's going to be long-standing. I mean, there's no rush. There's no point in rushing into something. The whole point here is correcting another ordinance.
I have a question. On the figure amount, can it say not exceeding a certain amount per hour, like 200 or?
No.
Okay, that's okay, an exact, okay.
I'll say this too, if in fact you're going to make this one of our positions inside the city, every one of our positions have a pay range. So, this one would be the very same. You would have a minimum, you would have a maximum.
No, sir.
Somewhere in between there.
The way it's written, it is not subject to those pay bands.
Okay, all right. So could we make it subject to that if they?
No, sir.
No?
The statute requires non-elected officers. Well, I'll take that back. Yes, you can.
But this is a part-time position, so it would fall into that part-time position hourly rate.
Right. Those pay scales only apply to full-time
Yeah,
positions.
that's true too. That's true too.
So we're just gonna hold off on this till the March committee meeting?
Yeah.
What you're recommending?
That's what I would like to see inside on the other part.
I-
The hearing officer part of it, you guys are gonna have to
I
decide
think-
that and how that's done.
think
and
you both have been
where we
fair
put
about
that. But we can change that classification very easily.
No reason not to.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. The next item here on the agenda is to discuss the city attorney. And I know we're all familiar with what's going on up here, but the people in the audience may not be as familiar. And City Council has asked me to provide reasons for the termination of our contract with Frank Wickman as city attorney. And I've given multiple meeting dates in my office and made myself available by phone, by setting up meetings, asked the council members to go ahead and tell me what works for them, and I haven't gotten any of that. But they all seem to have agreed that they would like to discuss this as a whole. If we discuss it as a whole, whether it be by email or in a group, it has to be a public meeting. This falls under the Open Meeting Act if we have a quorum of city council. And so I want to take advantage of this time that we're all together here to go ahead and
Mayor,
talk a little bit about this.
May I make a suggestion? Since it is an administration, I'd like to set a couple of rules for this discussion tonight, to listen to what your argument is, to allow people, council, and people in the public to be able to speak, and limit that speak to 3 minutes, and proceed from there.
Do we have a list of people that would be interested in speaking?
May I make a comment real quick?
Yes.
My recommendation is that we wait to have this discussion until the March 3rd meeting. I know that so that we don't have to have this discussion again. I know from people that have contacted me saying that they will be here at the March 3rd meeting to address the issue, to give their public comments on it. To do it twice, I'm not sure if that's in the best interest.
I'll give you my reasoning here, Gary, and that is, I don't have any interest in making the March 3rd meeting into a circus, and I sense the frustration among council members that they're getting phone calls and getting contacted by people and being asked, the reasons, and they're not able to give an answer, and I sense there's some frustration there. And I don't see any reason why we need to continue it for another 2 weeks.
I would say, just to counter that, we can be assured, as Mr. Chris is with us today, that there will probably be an article about this in the next day or so. I think only fueling, that back and forth over the next 2 weeks. And that's 2 weeks before we would actually have our next meeting.
I agree with you.
Well, I would ask that you hear me out because
May I make just one comment before you do, sir? I want to make everybody aware in this room and to the media, whomever, that yes, the mayor has offered to have individual closed-door meetings with individual council members. However, he has not been willing, still is not willing, to meet with council as a whole. That's all we've ever asked for. I don't think it's a lot to ask. We're losing a valued employee because of a decision that you have made, sir. We are upset about that decision. Our hands are tied. We realize that. But you need to follow what the community, what's best for our community. And I don't feel that you're doing that. We all represent this city, not just you as a figurehead. We all. I've been on this council for 19 years. I've volunteered with the city for 35 years. I have never, ever, ever been ashamed to be a council member until today. You have made a mockery of this city. And you may print that, sir.
Okay, there's a couple things I'd like to say to that. One, I have never said I would not meet with council as a whole. What I've said is that we have to make it an open meeting. Does that make sense? It has to be open to the public. The public deserves to see how their elected officials conduct themselves.
Why did you go behind our backs and terminate this gentleman?
I didn't go behind your back.
You did, you told us.
Point of order. Point of,
You certainly.
This
Point
was
of
well
order.
within the authority
point of order.
that I have.
Point of order. This is administration. This is an administration committee meeting. This is not an arguing committee for council. We need to make a decision whether we want to hold this meeting tonight or hold it for another night.
I think that would be under the terms of our 2 administration committee members, correct?
Right.
Would you give us our choices, please, Bill?
Please.
Please give us our choices.
The choice would be to go ahead and carry this meeting over, go ahead and go over the agenda I've selected, let the mayor speak his piece, and then give every member of council or people in the public at least up to 3 minutes to rebuttal or make a discussion. And then, or wait till the March 3rd meeting of city council to bring it out as open, or wait till our next committee meeting. Ooh, yes.
Bill, I think there are a lot of people going to want to be heard on this who were not given notice of tonight's meeting, and therefore it'd be my suggestion that we defer this until the March 3rd meeting.
I am absolutely the same. I've had too many phone calls and emails about this situation and told them it would be heard on March 3rd at the first meeting in March. And like Gary said, we're going to cut a lot of people out that want to say something, and I think we need to have them there.
And this was also put on.
We're going to be here anyway, so it's going to be a long night, so I just say buckle down and let's do it all on the same night.
And this was also not giving the public 24 hours notice when this was put on the agenda.
It doesn't have to be. This is what I want everybody to understand. I'm going to go to the press. So I'm going to speak to the press, and it's just a matter of if you want to hear it now and talk to me now, or if you want to read about it in the paper.
You've already spoke to the press.
You made this
Not about
decision
this, I
before
haven't.
you even
Well-
elected mayor.
Exactly.
Did you not say to the press? Okay, he did not say, I'm talking to you now.
I know.
He spoke to the press saying that one of the reasons was they didn't have the same vision. The attorney don't need a vision. His job is to lead us in the right direction and make sure we pass the right ordinances and laws for the city of Erlanger. He don't make no vision. That's our decision, how we want to set the vision sites for what we want to see Erlanger go to and what the people vote us to do. I don't feel that was the reason. And if he wants to give his reason, fine, but I still feel we need to move this thing to the 3rd. There's too many people who want to talk.
And we need transparency.
I will.
Promise transparency.
Yeah.
I will, if it's a decision, if the majority of council would like to bring it to the 3rd instead of the night, I'm more than willing to allow that to happen and bring it up as a whole council rather than as an administration committee meeting. And just bring it up as a whole council meeting on the 3rd of March, if that's council's prerogative.
Do you want a show of hands, Randy?
Please?
Randy, do you want a show of hands?
Whatever your
Bill?
name is,
Sorry.
Bill.
Do you want a show of hands?
Sure, why not? I don't know if it's, I've made my decision, but that's okay.
Do you care
But it's fine.
As committee chair, I think that's your.
Anthony, what do you think? Third, okay. We're going to make it for the 3rd, thank you. And put that,
All right. The next item on the agenda is under the Codes Building and Zoning Committee.
I'm going to refer this back to Mr. Mark Fields. We discussed this along with the codes enforcement officers, and Mark's got a recommendation.
Mr. Hammond is here tonight, I believe. How are you, sir? Yeah. You know, when we changed this ordinance, this is the RV ordinance about being able to park in front or in the side of your house on pavement. We changed this a couple times over the years. First of all, it used to be you just had to store them in the back. When we enacted that ordinance, there were some people grandfathered into that, like Mr. Hammond here and a couple others throughout the city, that were able to keep their campers or boats in front of their house and in that part of it. Once we changed that and we said, okay, what we're going to do is allow people from April, I believe it's April 1st to November 15th, to store their RV and or boat in the front of their house on their driveway. We took out the grandfather clause, and when we did, it affected some people, like Mr. Hammond. We talked today with the codes officers, and you have two choices, and the one choice that you would have would be to add those grandfathered people back into this ordinance if we want to change it. This is only if we want to change it. The other one, which we would suggest, and after speaking with the codes enforcement officers, would be just to make it year-round. I don't know what we accomplished by making this 8 months out of the year. You allow somebody to do it 8 months out of the year, and then you prohibit them from doing it the other 4 months out of the year. I don't know what we accomplished by doing that except an enforcement nightmare.
Right.
And so, you know, our recommendation would be to make a change to the ordinance that would just allow it to be parked there year-round and not have to grandfather, not have to do anything with those people that were affected by this before. Don't believe there's that many in the city, to be quite honest with you.
Are we able to determine that?
I think we cleaned up what we initially started to do 5 or 6 years ago about getting the rundown vehicles out. I think they understood and they're gone. But I think what we're doing, if we grandfather it back in and we keep it this 4 months, we're just running our codes officers. For 4 months, we're just running them ragged. And then if we grandfather it in, then they're not going to really know. They're going to have so can, and this person can't. So we just feel like it's best, since we're already letting them do it 8 months out of the year, you know, hey, 12 months. If we start seeing it get to be a problem again, please.
People camp all year round.
I know, now they do, yeah. So I'm not, we're all in favor of letting it go.
That's fine.
And if it gets to be a problem, we can always bring it back up.
Right.
Very simple.
So do we think we can have an ordinance drafted? Do we need another committee meeting, or can we have the ordinance drafted for the March meeting?
It's just repealing the existing
Is it just repealing something on the ordinance?
Just a section in the nuisance ordinance?
It is a section nuisance ordinance, but it's a separate ordinance or a separate section inside there that would have to be amended
Yeah, you'll need an ordinance.
to amend
Yes.
that.
So we make a recommendation to do the ordinance.
All right. Thank you. With that, can we have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Kevin, second by Patty. Meeting adjourned.